Oh boy. Hello everyone and welcome to today's live stream. It is 10/20/2025. It is Monday. We are here. I am not feeling great. So if I am a little lower energy than what you're used to, my son was sick, my daughter was sick. It's only fair that the viral load would get to me. So here we are. What we're going to do today, a couple of things. Number one, I'm wearing the hoodie. You can't drive this vulva hoodie, okay? I have to tell you, we got samples. My sister and I got samples. This hoodie is so nice. It's so nice. I'm so happy that we got it. I tried putting the little link in Nightbot, but for some reason the fourth wall. I'll see if maybe I can get my link. But the fourth wall website is not working right now. So that's what we've been dealing with. I'll try to put it in Nightbot later. Just try to remind me. It's been a long couple of days. My son was up for like 5 days in a row. My daughter was having extreme eye pain and vomiting. And then she was okay. And then she started to get sick. And then she had a ruptured eardrum. And now she's back at school. And now I can feel it. I'm starting to get sick. However, I did get up this morning. I had my breakfast. I worked out. You know, we're just trying to stay alive. It's my daughter's birthday on Wednesday. It's her birthday party this weekend. I'm just trying to make it to that. That's all I'm trying to do. So for those of you who are new here, welcome to That's My Opinion. I'm Bacon Bears. Thank you for being here with me today. Today, we're going to dive into the latest update in the Ellen Greenberg case, which is the brand new medical examiner's report that's causing a lot of controversy. As always, this live stream is for conversational purposes only. Do your own research and form your own opinions because this one's mine. And let's get into it. If you haven't seen the full breakdown on this case, I do have it linked and pinned in our chat section for right now, but I will put it in the comments of this video later. So if you don't know about the case, a little bit of a synopsis is that she was, Ellen Greenberg was a 27, I think, year-old female in Philly. And she was found dead in her apartment, and she had 20 stab wounds, 10 to the back of the neck, 1 to her skull, in the back of her skull. And it was immediately, the cops came in and they were like, well, so suicide. And then they left. They were in her apartment for what I believe is less than 3 hours. And yeah, it's injustice to her. So it's been a rough one to kind of go through, and her family, and, you know, for her family to have to open this case and fight to get, hi, Mr. Pike. I know I pressed some wrong buttons, but here I am. Her family had to, you know, kind of fight to get this reopened, and it was ruled a suicide, then a homicide, and then a suicide again. So that's what we're going to go over today. We're going to go over the ME report. If you guys have any questions, just let me know and I will try to answer them the best that I can. And let's start the ME report, starting ME report. I'm making notes so I can make you guys some timestamps. So for the replay crew who doesn't necessarily like that I'm so all over the place, a lot of people are like, I really like your long form videos, but your live streams are too crazy and chaotic for me. Yeah, listen, I got ADHD. Okay. I'm trying to keep up with chat. Live stream is a different animal. So I'm trying to make sure that if you have come to watch this on the replay, it's more organized, trying my best. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get this set up. So here's the ME report. It was by Lindsay Simon. And it was supposed to be a unbiased, right, open eyes, but she's from the Philadelphia Medical Examiner's Office. So we got that. The Medical Examiner's Office was asked to conduct an independent, unbiased review of all available materials relating to the death of Ellen Greenberg be conducted by the undersigned. The ultimate question to be answered by this review is whether the manner of death should be changed from the current ruling of suicide to could not be determined or homicide. It's my personal belief that this should be undetermined at the least. At the least. This review is conducted independently by the undersigned, with all opinions being those of the undersigned without influence by any of the involved parties. But she's the chief medical examiner of the Philadelphia Medical Examiner's Office. Okay. Sure, Jan. So what they reviewed was the electronic and paper records retained in the medical examiner's file, photographs retained in the medical examiner's case file, electronic and paper records. One thing that you have to know about the electronics as well is the fact that after she was killed, the day after she was killed, her fiance's uncle came into the apartment and took her electronics. Not her mom, not her dad, nobody on her side of the family. Her fiance, the last person to see her alive, her fiance's uncle came in and took those out of the apartment. So here's all the materials reviewed, but the initial report on death on Wednesday, 1/26/11 at approximately 7:30 p.m., the death of Ellen Greenberg was reported to the Philadelphia Medical Examiner's Office, subsequently referred to as MEO. The initial reported circumstances were that the decedent's fiance forced entry into the shared apartment and found Ellen with a knife in her chest. She was pronounced dead at the scene by the medics. Now, the initial report of death, she wasn't just found with a knife in her chest. She had 20 stab wounds, and they didn't even know that she had 10 to the back of her neck and a gash of a stab wound into the back of her head until she got her autopsy. An investigator from the MEO responded to the scene at 8:27 p.m. At the scene, the investigator spoke to the decedent's fiance and police. At this time, the fiance reported that he left the apartment around 4:45 to use the apartment's building gym. When he returned to the apartment at approximately 5:15 or 5:30, the fiance found the apartment door secured from the inside. He attempted to reach Ellen via text, phone calls, and knocking on the door for approximately 1 hour before he forced entry into the apartment. Sam is the only person that's been interviewed. Sam is the only person that has seen her alive at this time. They never took any pictures of his clothes. They never took his clothes. So, do with that information what you will. There is conflicting information in the MEO records as to whether the fiance was accompanied by staff from the apartment complex, whether he forced entry into the apartment. In the report of death investigation written by the responding MEO investigator under the section labeled circumstances, the following description was provided. He, the fiance, proceeded to contact the decedent via text message, telephone calls, and emails for approximately an hour before he forced his entry into the apartment. There was no indication in the circumstances report who provided this information about the entry to the apartment. He would have provided that information. He was the only person they interviewed. Another interesting thing is records as to whether the fiance was accompanied by staff from the apartment complex when he forced his way into the apartment. The person that he claimed went with him to the apartment, not only denied going to the apartment, but was on surveillance, not going to the apartment. We know that he was not accompanied by anybody. He was alone, in fact. So, yeah. I'm just going to put this in the, right, there's so many holes in this case. I'm just going to make sure that our posts tell everybody that we're live. But, dang it. I never know how to do anything on stream. There we go. Okay. In a separate report written by the same MEO investigator titled Investigation Report under the section labeled Background, The following description was provided. He, Goldberg, Sam Goldberg, who was her fiance, proceeded to try and contact the decedent via text messages, telephone calls, and emails approximately an hour before he tried to force entry into the apartment. An apartment security man was reportedly present during the entry. No, he was not. Sam was alone. Sam was alone. Thank you, Mr. Pike. I appreciate you. Sam was, in fact, alone. Let's see. The MEO investigator noted that all the information contained within the background section of this report was provided by the police at the scene and the fiance. It is not documented in the case file who specifically reported that the entry to the apartment was witnessed by apartment staff. While there are no date and time stamps to verify which report was entered first, the investigation report containing the second excerpt includes details of interviews conducted after the autopsy was underway. Very interesting. So, the fiance reported to the MEO investigator that he found Ellen unresponsive on the kitchen floor. He called 911 and he was instructed to give CPR. When he began to render aid is a interesting way to put it, because he claims that he was going to start doing CPR. I want you to sit and think about how CPR is administered. Just think about it. If you had to give CPR to somebody else, how does that happen? You lay them on their back and you start pumping on their chest, right? Whether you've done it before or not, you understand how CPR is administered. When the police came into this apartment, Ellen was found sitting up against the cabinets. So please explain to me how aid was being rendered if she was sitting up against the cabinets. The fiance reported to the no. We already did this. The fiance noticed a knife in Ellen's chest. At this point, he stopped rendering aid, which means he was rendering aid. Okay? And awaited first responders. The other thing is he said the dispatcher had said you have to take her hoodie off. She had a zippered hoodie. The knife was right next to the zipper. While he was rendering aid, he just missed it. He just missed it. It was also a fairly big knife. If you go and you look at it, it's a large knife. The scene of the death was a sixth floor apartment. The apartment building was described as a gated community with a 24-hour concierge service. A severe snowstorm had impacted the region near the time of death, which resulted in several inches of snow accumulation. And that's the reason that she was home that day, was because the blizzard was coming and they were allowed to be off of school. So she was home. And that's the other thing. Nobody was out. There was a concierge service. There's key fobs. It's an incredibly safe building. So it had to be somebody inside of the building if you don't believe that she did it to herself. I personally don't believe that she did it to herself. Do I think Sam did it to her? I don't know. We'll never have enough evidence. But also, could it be possible that somebody else in the apartment did it? Also, yes. But we'll never know because nobody preserved any evidence. The MEO investigator documented the scene photographically, barely, and with narrative report, the findings of which appear consistent with one another upon review by the undersigned. Ellen was found supine on the kitchen floor with her head and shoulders resting against the lower kitchen cabinets. So she was on her back and she was in the sitting up position. At the scene, multiple stab wounds were visible on Ellen's chest and upper torso. The knife was lodged. Excuse me. A knife was lodged in her chest. The knife was lodged in the body appeared. The knife lodged in the body appeared consistent with an overturned knife set found on the kitchen counter, which is another interesting point because they've said that there was no sign of a struggle. And she was preparing fruit and cutting an orange and whatever. But the knife block was completely turned over. So, I mean, could she had grabbed it and the knife? I don't know. I got a knife block upstairs. And even if you grab like a knife out of it really quick, like it's sort of bulky. But they're saying that there was absolutely no sign of a struggle. Do I think that the knife block could have been overturned by somebody grabbing it and then stabbing her in the back of the head so she's completely incapacitated? Also, yes. Blood evidence appeared to be confirmed with the immediate vicinity of Ellen's body. Photographs of the scene showed a pattern imprint in the body of the floor near Ellen's right hand. The investigator noted blood staining on the sole of Ellen's boot. It is the opinion of the undersigned that the pattern imprint of the blood appears consistent with the tread of Ellen's boot. Sure. Yeah. She would step in her own blood as she was trying to stand up, maintain her balance, whatever. There were no signs of struggle in the apartment. No valuables were noted to be missing from the apartment. No suicide note was found at the scene. No defensive injuries were noted. The sink in the kitchen was dry and had no visible blood or tissue. 2 knives in the kitchen sink were similarly free of blood or tissue. The only sign of forced entry was at the apartment door, where the latch was incompletely detached from the door, undisturbed. And undisturbed snow was present on the apartment's patio. No alternative means of entering the apartment were identified. One of the things that we talked about in one of our last live streams was the fact that the door lock itself and the screws in the door lock were ruined, but the door latch was not. And the question is why? If you go to kick a door in with your full force and that little latch is broken, how is the door, the handle and the door jamb, how is that not broken? Which I guess would be consistent if you had it open and you were like going with your shoulder. But Sam said he kicked it in. Do we know if there's a shoe print on the door? Probably not. Because these police were like, you know what, guys, bare minimum today. Not even bare minimum. They couldn't even do bare minimum. Bottles of alprazolam, colonazepam, and zolpidem prescribed for the decedent were recovered at the bedside table. The decedent's cell phone was found in the apartment bathroom. The last outgoing call she made was 2:33 p.m., and it lasted approximately 30 seconds. The last outgoing text message was 3:47 p.m. There were multiple missed calls and incoming texts from Mr. Goldberg between 5:30. So the last time that we know her to be alive then would be 2:33. No, I'm sorry, 3:47. The last outgoing message was 3:47. So could it be possible that she was killed, that Sam killed her? Possibly. Maybe. Cleaned himself up, went downstairs to get himself an alibi, and then came back up. There were also missed calls from the apartment building's front desk between 6:07 and 6:10. Police transported the fiancé to the Northwest Detectives Division for an interview. I'd love to see it. I don't know where it is, but I'd love to see it. And that was at 11:25 p.m. During his interview, the fiancé said that Ellen was already home when he arrived. Hi, Gary. How are you? when he already arrived around 1:30 that day. So he's home at 1:30. Her last text message is at 3:47. Can they get into an argument at this time and something goes awry? Absolutely. Absolutely. During his interview, already home that day. While at home, Ellen was upset about her job and indicated that she wanted to quit work, which we also know is consistent with the text messages that she had sent to Sam on a regular basis. She was having a really hard time at work. The fiancé noted that Ellen had been stressed over work for the past couple of weeks leading up to that day, and he was not the only person who said that. Her coworkers said that. She confided in one coworker in particular. It was an older gentleman, and also she was that gentleman's daughter's like best friend. And a lot of people said she was super stressed. And that older gentleman actually in the documentary called his daughter and is like, "Your friend is fucking crazy." So she was struggling. Absolutely. After offering some encouragement to his fiancée, he said he left the apartment about oh, God. Of course. The fiancé noted, after offering some encouragement to his fiancé. Of course. I just told her to, just get back on the horse. You can do it. You can do it. He said he left the apartment around 4:45 to use the apartment building's gym. When he left, Ellen was reportedly in the apartment grading papers. The fiancé then stated he returned to the apartment around 5:20 and found that the latch for their apartment door was engaged. Also, did their door lock? Like the door handle, did their door handle not lock? I'm interested in that too, because why would you lock the hatch and not the door handle? This is a great point, Mr. Pike. We don't know if it was her that tried to make the call or sent the text through. That's a great point. We don't know who sent the text. Let's see. He found the latch for the door. He reported calling and texting without a response. Mobile won't let me talk and stream. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with YouTube lately. I have no idea. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on with YouTube. I don't know. I don't understand. He then proceeded back to his apartment, trying to call Ellen again and again and again with no response. The one thing that I want to talk about too is, let's see if I can get his Sam Goldberg texts. Images. I don't know. Oh, man. He was extremely angry. If you watch the documentary, he had said, like, I'm getting so fucking pissed off. You don't understand. You have no idea. Like, in threatening, which is interesting as well, because it's funny that he would go from encouragement and understand that she's struggling, and then be like, "Oh, yeah, I just tried to encourage her," and then be like, "Let me in the fucking apartment." She's not answering. You're texting her, you're calling her, she's not answering. And instead, you're like, he goes straight to rage instead of being like, could something be wrong here? The fiancé said he went back down to the apartment building lobby to talk with the building's concierge and see if a maintenance worker was available to help with the door. They were not. The concierge was in the documentary, and he said he did not go down, or he did not go up to that apartment because it was against protocol. He was not allowed to. Nobody went with Sam. He was also on video. He was not allowed to leave his post unless it was with law enforcement, fire, or EMS. He then said he proceeded back to his apartment. Okay. The fiancé stated He forced entry into the apartment at 6:29. Of note, during this police interview, he did not claim to be accompanied by the apartment building staff when he forced entry, nor was he specifically asked by police if his entry into the apartment was witnessed or not. Of course he wasn't asked that. Because why would we ask investigative questions during an investigation? I don't know. When he saw Ellen on the kitchen floor, the fiancé said he called 911. Apparently, though, from what people said, that this was not the only phone call he made immediately. So I'll have to take a look at that as well. When he saw Ellen on the kitchen floor, okay, the 911 operator reportedly asked the fiancé if he would be willing to provide CPR to Ellen. The operator guided him through it. Let's talk about this again. We listened to the 911 call in our full breakdown of this case. When she asks him, do you want to do CPR? He's like, I get, as he's going to say, I guess. And then he goes, I have to, right? Yeah. Yeah, you have to. The love of your life is fucking dying. And that's different than saying, like, okay, I've never done CPR before. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Instead, he's like, oh, I have to. Like, almost like he was inconvenienced in a way. And then he says that he's rendering aid to her. He's actively giving her CPR, but she's found in the sitting up position. Okay. Also, we have no pictures of his clothes or of him, his hands or his feet. If he really truly did CPR on a woman with 20 stab wounds, should he also not be covered in blood? The fiancé said he agreed, but when he got close to Ellen to start rendering aid, he saw a knife in her body. The fiancé reportedly informed the 911 operator of the knife, and the 911 operator advised the fiancé to wait for the emergency responders to render aid. Okay, so this says that he didn't. Fine. He didn't render aid. But on the phone, he says, I'm trying to get her zipper undone, and her zipper is stuck. The knife is directly next to her zipper. Right. CPR doesn't work sitting up. I mean, they say, I've never administered CPR, but from what I've heard is that true CPR, if you're doing it correctly, you're actually going to hear like a crunching of the sternum. You're never going to get that while the victim or the person that you're administering bless, is sitting up. It's not going to work. The following timeline events was compiled by the undersigned based on the Philadelphia Police Department's documented review of call logs, keycard swipe logs from Ellen's apartment building, and surveillance video from the same location. Okay, so here we have a full timeline. At 1:32 p.m., Ellen enters a parking garage of the apartment. 1:53, Sam enters the parking garage. 4:51, Sam enters the gym of the apartment building, which we have, okay, video. 4:30, fiancé on surveillance video leaving the gym, 5:30, I'm sorry, and walking towards the concierge desk of the lobby in the apartment building. 5:31, fiancé on surveillance video getting a lobby elevator while reading the mail. All right, so let's go 28:45 timeline. Okay. Let's see. By the mail. Where are we? While reading mail. Okay. 6:10, fiancé on surveillance video leaving a lobby elevator and walking towards the concierge desk. So he's upstairs trying to get in, trying to talk to her from 5:31 to 6:10. 6:13, fiancé on surveillance video getting on a lobby elevator. 6:25, fiancé on surveillance video leaving a lobby elevator. So he goes back upstairs for about 13 minutes and then decides to come back downstairs. 6:31, fiance on surveillance video walking through the apartment building while talking on a cell phone. 6:33, fiance on surveillance video getting on an elevator. Wait a second. Wait a second. Wait a second. So you mean to tell me that 6:33, Sam is on video getting on the elevator, and we know that's from the lobby because at this point they did not have video cameras in the hallways at the time. That's why nobody could corroborate what Sam said because there were no videos in the hallways. So the only video that we have of him is getting on the elevator from the lobby. Okay? That's at 6:33. You mean to tell me also at 6:33, 60 seconds, he rides that elevator, gets off the elevator, breaks down his door, finds Ellen on the ground covered in blood. There's not at least a minute in between here? Did he fucking teleport? There's no pause. There's no asking her if she needs anything. There's no going to her. He gets on the elevator to go back upstairs to the 6th floor, by the way. And within that same minute, he calls 911. This is the fastest man on earth. This is the fastest man on earth. 6:35, the medics respond. 6:37, officers from the Philadelphia Police Department responded. 6:40, Ellen pronounced dead at the scene. 6:42, firemen on surveillance video getting on a lobby elevator. 6:45, police officer on the scene video getting on the lobby elevator. It would be nice to have the videos in the hallways to see how long that trip took. You know what? If I was police, okay, I would have timed this. I would have gotten on the elevator, even started at the 1 second of the minute. I would have gone up 6 floors. I would have walked to my apartment. I would have banged on the door, and I would have reenacted kicking it in and then having the shock of your dead fiance laying on the floor, fumbling with your phone, calling 911. 1 minute. 1 minute. From lobby video to him being in the apartment, that makes 0 sense. Exactly. 6 floors, down a hallway, breaks down a door, finds her and calls 911 in less than 60 seconds. Nobody takes pause at this? Philadelphia, you should be fucking ashamed of yourself. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. 6:47, medics on surveillance video getting on a lobby elevator. 8:15, detectives from Philadelphia Police Department responded. 8:27, MEO investigator arrived at the scene. 9:20, homicide detective from Philadelphia Police Department responded. 9:55, final documented assessment at the body at the scene made by the MEO investigator. Final document. This whole thing started. They found her. They're there at 6:35. By 9:55, the final documented assessment of the body at the scene is made by the MEO investigator. That's how much time they've taken. This is 3 hours. They've taken 3 hours, maybe, to figure out if this girl, and they're like, she killed herself. And then by 11:25 p.m., fiance arrived by police transport to the Northwest Detectives Division. What were they doing in this time? This is almost a 2-hour gap. No, I guess not. An hour and a half. What's happening here? All right. So let's go to the Emmy interviews. Sorry, it takes me a minute to do timestamps. I'm trying my best. Was she pronounced dead before the cops or the medic showed up? She was pronounced dead on the scene at 6:40. Officers are there, medics are there. But he had already told everyone that she had clearly killed herself. Also, the medics made it there in just 2 minutes. I don't know where the firehouse is from this area. I don't know. Have I seen paramedics respond in a crazy amount of fast time? Yes, I have. So I can't say anything to that. But everything else blows. Everything else absolutely blows in this case. So this is the MEO interviews. The assigned MEO investigator interviewed Ellen's parents on 1/27 at 7:41 a.m. One parent reported last speaking to Ellen on 1/26 around 7 a.m. During that conversation, Ellen gave no indication that something was wrong. The parent went on to tell the investigator that Ellen had been dealing with anxiety issues for several weeks leading up to her death. The parents explained that Ellen seemed anxious, insecure, not sure of herself, and not liking how she felt. She was reportedly under the care of a psychiatrist for this, and Ellen's parents stated that she was stressed by her work as a school teacher. But it says that they were seen on the elevator after she... Okay, so she's pronounced dead at 6:40. This is why I need like paper and a highlighter. And then we see firemen. And then we see a police officer. Oh. You're right. You're right. No, they just responded. Fiance on surveillance video getting on an elevator. 911 is called. The medics respond. The officers respond. 6:40, Ellen is pronounced dead at the scene. But you're right. 6:42, the firemen are seen getting on the lobby elevator. 6:45, police is seen getting on the elevator. 6:47, medics on surveillance video getting on the lobby elevator. You're right. Which makes more sense. They responded. 2 minutes, they're probably being dispatched, right? From the time it takes him to call to get to the dispatcher for her to dispatch, and they're responding on their way. Mr. Pike, what a great catch. But again, nobody's going to look at this because why would they? Why would they? They noted that the day of Ellen's death was the due date for submitting her grades. The parents denied having any concerns about this is about Ellen Greenberg. That's what we're going over right now. The parents denied having any concern about Ellen's fiance, indicating that they were happy to have him as a son-in-law, describing him as a fine young man. They denied knowledge of any prior verbal or physical abuse in the relationship. They similarly denied any history of prior suicidal attempts or ideation. I have to tell you, I think I've told this story before, but I had a friend, and we were all out at the bar. We were all out having a great time. Everybody's dancing, singing, drinking, whatever. And he goes to leave. And we're like, all right, man, see you later. And he's like, yeah, see you later. Bye. The next morning, we all get a phone call that he's gone because he went home and it was done. And sometimes in those situations, you don't know. You never know. They don't express it to people. They seem very happy. You don't know. So I would take that information with a grain of salt, because can somebody seem very happy and then do something? Absolutely. Absolutely. On 1/27/11 at 11:30 a.m., Ellen's psychiatrist was interviewed by the assigned MEO investigator. The doctor stated that Ellen only recently started care and had only been seen 3 times before her death. They indicated Ellen was being seen for severe anxiety that had persisted for approximately 2 months. Ellen indicated stress related to work, feeling overwhelmed and pressured. And I can tell you, too, as somebody who has gotten on medication and who has been in this situation where you feel like you're drowning, the weight feels very real. It feels very physical. You have like a physical weight on you. You know, and it's very hard until the medication starts to get into your system and you know, kind of level everything out. It is a very difficult place to be. Ellen mentioned during a session with her psychiatrist that recent changes in school regulations and issues with the difficult students were at issue. Ellen indicated that she was contemplating leaving her job. The psychiatrist reported that one of Ellen's parents contacted the psychiatrist's office to convey their concern for their daughter. During psychiatric sessions, Ellen had nothing but good things to say about her fiancé, noting that Ellen smiled when speaking up about him and their upcoming marriage. Ellen denied any verbal or physical abuse in the relationship when asked during her appointments. Remember, she only had 3. So, and I'm not saying that Sam was abusive, but it's not often that somebody is getting abused and they're going to come out to a psychiatrist immediately. They have to build that trust. They're not just going to go to one psychiatrist appointment and be like, yeah, this is happening. It doesn't work like that. Ellen had originally been prescribed sertraline, Zoloft for her anxiety, but eventually switched to Xanax. It's interesting that they would give her Xanax right away. And then she got Ambien and Klonopin to help her sleep. But the other thing is, too, is I find it interesting that they're all hinging on what everybody said about Sam. What everybody said about Sam. Could it be possible that it was anything else, anyone else? Could it have been somebody in the building? Could it have been her neighbor? Could it have been a maintenance worker? There are 800 people in this building. I mean, I don't know if that's true. Is this still spooky stuff? We're talking about true crime. You know, we don't know if that's true. You know, but it would be nice if we had an idea. I don't know. This whole thing just makes me very upset. The remains of Ellen Greenberg were examined at the MEO on 1/27/11 by Dr. Marlon Osborne, with the examination starting at approximately 9 a.m. Ellen weighed 136 pounds and measured about 5'7". This was not a big girl. She was not, she's not a large human being. Could she have been overpowered, which is why there's no defensive wounds? Yeah. Yes. The final autopsy report was printed on 4/4/11 and signed by Dr. Osborne. The signature on the final autopsy report appears to the undersigned to match the signatures on both the original death certificate issued by Dr. Osborne and the amended death certificate issued by Dr. Osborne. Dr. Osborne's autopsy report was notable for 20 stab and incised wounds of Ellen's chest, abdomen, posterior, scalp, and neck, which were arbitrarily designated wounds A through T. All the wounds were described as having associated soft tissue hemorrhage. 8 of these stab wounds were on the chest and posterior neck, so the back of the neck, penetrating only 0.2 or 0.3 centimeters, less than an 1/8 inch deep, with only superficial soft tissue injured. 5 of these stab wounds were on the chest and the posterior neck, so behind her neck, penetrating between 1/2 and 7/8 inch deep, with no vital structures injured. 1 stab wound to the posterior neck penetrated 3 centimeters, approximately 1 inch, 1 3/16 inch deep, with no vital structures injured. The depth of the penetration was not documented for the incised wound of the posterior scalp. Why? The 5 remaining stab wounds documented in the autopsy report are summarized by the undersigned as follows. Stab wound E, perforations of the aortic arch and the left lung, depth penetration 10 centimeters. Associated, whatever this word is, I don't know. Serrated knife recovered from the wound. Stab wound H, perforation of the chest wall, penetration of the liver. Chest wall. It was found up here and her liver? The liver is much lower, yes? For depth penetration, 4 centimeters. Intra-abdominal hemorrhage is unspecified. Stab wound I. Depth of penetration. This is in her abdominal wall. That's a big word for Elmo. It is. It is. 6 centimeters. So this is just the depth. Associated focal epidural hemorrhage in the spinal canal. In the autopsy report, the cervical spinal cord was described as bulging near the defect of the cervical spine dura. Per the report, the segment of the spinal cord was submitted by Dr. Lucy Rourke, a neuropathologist practicing at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, for examination. Seemingly contradictory statements about the outcome of the explanation were included in the autopsy report on the findings and opinions page. The spinal cord injury was evaluated grossly by neuropathology. It was concluded that the injury to the spinal cord would not have incapacitated the decedent. Decedent would be able to inflict the subsequent stab wounds to her body. But the question then becomes, what if the head injury was first? Would a 3-inch, I think we said that it was 2.5 inches, a 2.5-inch wound to the back of the brain, would that not incapacitate somebody? Other pertinent findings in the autopsy report were multiple contusions on Ellen's right upper arm, right forearm, abdominal wall, right thigh, and near her right knee. She had multiple bruises in multiple states of healing, which means that she collected these bruises over time. Dr. Osborne affirmatively stated that there was no petechiae in the conjunctivae. And I believe petechia is what you get when you're, there's something that happens to the eye when you're strangled. I believe that's what that is. There were no injuries to the lips, her mouth, and she was not assaulted here. He also affirmatively reported that there were no injuries to Ellen's anterior neck muscle, hyoid bone, or thyroid cartilage of the larynx. And if somebody is strangled, you would expect the hyoid bone to be broken. Typically, that is what goes along with it. Where is my little cursor here? In general, the undersigned agrees with the findings documented in the autopsy report when compared to photographs taken at the autopsy. However, there are omissions and errors regarding the documented injuries in the autopsy report that require attention. There are omissions. Okay. Yeah, I bet. I had an incomplete injury on my spinal cord when I broke my neck, and it can still affect your mobility. Yes, absolutely. There are also errors regarding the documented injuries in the autopsy report that require attention. Dr. Osborne documented and described a total of 20 stab and incised wounds in his final autopsy report, which appears to correspond with the notes taken by Dr. Osborne during the autopsy. Autopsy photographs demonstrate 3 additional perforations in the skin, which were accounted for. Oh, good. So she had 23 marks stab wounds, whatever, on her body. Specifically, there is one small vertically oriented perforation in the skin on the posterior right neck, approximately 0.5 centimeters in length compared to the photograph's scale. One of the small obliquely oriented perforation in the skin on the right side of the neck, approximately 0.3 centimeters in length compared to the photograph scale, and one small horizontal oriented perforation in the skin of the upper chest, approximately 0.3 centimeters in length compared to the photograph scale. All of these perforations have photographically documented soft tissue hemorrhage and are less than 3/16 of an inch in length when compared with scales in the photographs. It is the opinion of the undersigned that these omitted injuries did not result in significant internal injury. No, but do you know what it does say? Is that no matter which way you go, no matter what chain of custody you find inside of this department, it all lacks. It all lacks. My hands and triceps basically stopped working. Trying to hold a knife or stab would have been almost impossible for me. And that's the thing. I mean, you have to think about it. Even if she didn't, they didn't fully, separate her, her spinal cord, But also, I mean, El Jacad brought up a really great point that still sits with me. You have to remember the exertion that it takes to kill somebody this way. It's exhausting. And then not only to receive the pain, but then continue to give it is insane. It's crazy. And the question becomes, is it possible? The described internal injuries associated with stab wound E do not completely correspond with the documentation. There were no reported perforations. Of the pericardium or its contents, yet there was 120 milliliters of blood in it. Based on review of the photographs, it is the opinion of the undersigned that stab wound E, in fact, extended through pericardium and into the ascending aorta. Whether there was also a perforation of the aortic arc, as stated in the report, cannot be adequately assessed by the autopsy photographs. It also appears based on photographs that this stab wound resulted in penetration of the right lung, where there was also an injury to the left lung. As stated in the report, cannot be adequately assessed by the autopsy photographs. So nothing can be adequately assessed, but we can determine that she killed herself. Also, think about that, right? Did she switch hands? Or is she just like jumping all over the place? Right? Because if you have it in your hand, aren't you just going to like stab one at a time in the same place? I don't know. She's ambidextrous, I guess. There are small but significant omissions in the description of the internal injuries associated with stab wound N. On the surface of the anterior right side of the pons, at the right middle cerebellar peduncle, is a superficial incised wound with hemorrhage. The incision is best seen on photos of the brain taken after formalin fixation. The hemorrhage visible in the incision indicates that it was an antemortem injury and not an artifact from the autopsy process. Let's see what else we can find. These photographs show hemorrhage on the left, cerebellar. Okay. So let's see here. These are blunt impact injuries. Dr. Osborne's report described a total of 11 contusions on the right upper arm, right forearm, right lower abdomen, and the right thigh. There is no description in the autopsy report to indicate which of these contusions Dr. Osborne believed to be resolving. It is the opinion of the undersigned that the described contusion of the right upper arm and some of the contusions of the right forearm and thigh were resolving. The remaining documented contusions of the right forearm, abdomen, and thigh appear to be more recent. After review of the photographs, the undersigned identified the following contusions, which were all omitted from the autopsy report. These injuries have been subdivided into those documents in Dr. Osborne's autopsy notes and those that were completely undocumented. Oh, good. More undocumented stuff. I love that for us. The commentary on the color and shape of the contusions is that of the undersigned. So, these are contusions documented in the autopsy notes but omitted from the final report. 2 round, faint brown contusions in her right mid buttock. It's an interesting place to give yourself a bruise. Or maybe if she fell, was pushed. 1 round, faint red contusion, right lower buttock. 1 round, faint brown contusion, right upper shin. 2 faint blue contusions, mid left forearm. 1 red purple contusion, left forearm. 1 round, faint red brown contusion, left thigh. 1 faint red brown contusion, left upper shin. Faint red contusion, left forehead. Oh, look at this. This is contusions omitted from both the autopsy notes and the final report. So we just left these out. Faint red contusion, left forehead near the hairline. Blue-purple contusion, right side of the neck, below the level of the previously described stab wounds on the neck. Blue-purple contusion, anterior, so behind the neck. Brown contusion, right lower chest near the edge of the rib cage. Faint green-yellow contusions, which are in like their final state of healing. Right thigh. Green-yellow contusion. Right hip. Red-brown contusion. Right thigh near knee. Red-brown contusion. Left thigh near knee. That's a great question. Why would it be omitted? Also, was Ellen Greenberg a rugby player? Why has she sustained 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 bruises? They found 20 bruises on her body. Not 11. He said he found 11. There's 20. Exactly. It sounds like she was hit by a paintball gun. What is she doing? Or what is happening to her? I have to tell you, okay? I have strength trained and I have played softball my entire life. And I'm not a player who doesn't get dirty. I fall over the place. And some people may bruise easily, okay? I get that too. But I just want to know, in her private life, what is this elementary school teacher doing that she has bruises on her butt? She has bruises on her forehead. She has bruises on her neck. Shins, whatever. I bruise my shins all the time. But all this, what is happening? Bacon is a muscle, mommy. Yeah, no, not today. I'm trying. There are also internal findings of blunt impact which are not described in Dr. Osborne's report. What did he put in his report? Maybe we should find that because I would love to see it. Autopsy photographs of the anterior neck dissection show 2 discrete areas of hemorrhage in the right sternothoid muscle at the level of the thyroid gland. It should be noted, depending on the orientation of the body, when these injuries occurred, they may correspond to the cervix contusion of the anterior neck described above. I would love to know, did she have some sort of condition where she just bruised easily? Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. All right, I'm going to timestamp here. We're at 1 hour here. I'm trying to do my best for you, friends. Following Ellen's autopsy, Dr. Osborne certified the cause of death as multiple stab wounds and the manner of death was a homicide. Yeah. A detective from the homicide unit of the Philadelphia Police Department was assigned to investigate. The knife recovered from the body, clippings of Ellen's fingernails, and clothes worn by Ellen at the time of the incident had a sample of Ellen's blood, were released from the MEO to the police for testing. Police returned to Ellen's apartment on 128. Now, I want to talk about this. Police returned to Ellen's apartment on 128. She is killed on 126. Her electronics were taken by Sam's uncle, 127. The apartment is cleaned by a company called Crime Scene Cleanup, 127. And the police return 128. Why? There's nothing left to investigate. You've already cleaned it up. They collected her engagement ring, several grade books, teacher resource books, and money in envelope labeled trip money. These items were submitted into evidence per copies of the property receipts. On 129, police collected 3 laptop computers and 1 iPhone from a male relative, James Schwartzman, a prominent lawyer in Philadelphia, who was Ellen's fiance. These items were submitted for forensic analysis because they couldn't have been tampered with in any way. What? On 2/1/11, police submitted swabs of brown stains on the apartment's kitchen cabinet, freezer door handle, and countertop for serology testing. On 2/25, police were contacted by the apartment building's property manager, reported that Ellen's parents were at the building to collect some of Ellen's belongings. At some point in the day, one of the parents used the lobby restroom near the building gym and discovered a small amount of blood. Oh. Look at that. This parent proceeded to station themselves at the door to the bathroom and requested that police came and test the blood for DNA. You know what? That's also a great point. Did they go down and look at the gym anywhere? Did they ever step foot in the gym? The property manager reassured them that the bathroom was regularly used by both residents and guests. They also informed them that the bathroom was cleaned twice daily and pointed to a wet floor sign indicating the bathroom had recently been cleaned. Officers from the building crime scene unit responded, photographed the area, and sampled the blood for testing. And I am sure that we will get an answer about that. I don't know what's going on with YouTube today. I have no idea. You know what? It might be because I started the stream and then ended the stream and then started it again because my YouTube studio is being quite interesting as well. So there's that. All right. New timestamp, which is a summary of police interviews. Sure, this will go well. Police interviews of the apartment building concierge, who did not go up with Sam, by the way, even though somebody said that he was there to witness all of this. The concierge reported to police that Ellen's fiance came to the front desk sometime between 6 and 7. At that time, the fiance reportedly indicated that he was locked out of his apartment. The concierge described the fiance as appearing agitated and sweaty during his trip to the front desk. Due to their prior position at the desk, the concierge reported that they could only see the fiance's blue t-shirt and short pants. Although the concierge offered a master key to unlock the apartment door, the fiance reportedly declined the offer, saying that the door was locked from the inside. The concierge reportedly instructed the fiancé to return to the 6th floor and call out to Ellen while the concierge attempted to call her from the front desk. The fiancé reportedly went to the lobby and went towards the elevators. During one of the concierge's multiple attempts to call Ellen, her fiancé reportedly returned to the front desk. According to the concierge, the fiancé appeared a little more agitated than he was at first to visit the front desk. When the fiancé was informed that there was no tool to open the door latch from the outside, he reportedly requested to speak to the building's maintenance supervisor. The concierge reportedly dialed the maintenance supervisor and gave the phone to Ellen's fiancé. Why don't they use his name? Why don't they say Sam Goldberg? After that phone call, the fiancé reportedly left the front desk again. Shortly after the fiancé left the front desk the second time, firefighters reportedly arrived at the building. The concierge reportedly escorted the firefighters, which we can see in surveillance video. Firefighters to the elevator and then returned to the front desk until summoned to the 6th floor to speak to police. When they went to speak with the police on the 6th floor, the concierge described Ellen's fiancé as sitting in the hallway and that he was clearly upset. When asked by police about Ellen's relationship with her fiancé, the concierge described Ellen as being very excited about a package that was arriving, reportedly wedding invitations. Again, this all hinges around Sam. This does not mean that somebody else in the building could not have done this. Somebody else could have been capable of doing this. I just don't understand why that's such an incredibly hard concept to understand. The maintenance supervisor was reportedly called by the building concierge around 6:30 regarding a lockout in 6:03. 6:30, that's 3 minutes before he makes the call. The maintenance supervisor reportedly offered the master key to unlock the apartment, to which the concierge replied that they were asking for a tool to unhook the inside latch to the apartment. She would have drained of liquid before she could use. Oh, interesting. If she bruised easily, she would have bled before she could use the knife on herself more than a few times. That's a very interesting point. I also love that you speak in code because YouTube doesn't allow us to just have regular conversations about things that actually matter. But, whatever. Who am I? The concierge handed the phone to Sam Goldberg, who proceeded to explain that the inside of the door latch was engaged. He reportedly went on to say that he tried calling Ellen's name and pounding on the door without getting a response. Maintenance supervisor reported that the fiancé indicated he was getting worried about Ellen and asked permission to kick down the door. You know what's interesting about this is these guys, he was getting worried to these guys. But in his text messages to Ellen, he's never like, are you okay? Like, hello? Is everything all right? No, his text messages are, open the fucking door. You don't even understand. I'm getting so fucking pissed right now. It's all anger towards her. It's never any concern. The maintenance supervisor reportedly replied that kicking wasn't necessary and the fiancé could shoulder the door open. The maintenance supervisor reportedly told Ellen's fiancé not to worry about the latch, implying consent to shoulder the door open. The maintenance supervisor described Ellen's fiancé as sounding concerned about his fiancé during their discussion. The fact that you... Thank you, Mr. Pike. We are one. We are one. Me and you. One brain. The maintenance supervisor described... Okay. They lived like a very happy couple. So here's a property manager. The property manager was reportedly notified by the building concierge of an emergency in Unit 603. They reported the notification happening sometime between 6:30 and 6:45. At this point, the concierge reportedly returned to the front desk and the property manager went to the elevators. At the elevators, the property manager reportedly encountered 2 police officers whom they escorted to the 6th floor. On the 6th floor, the property manager reportedly saw Ellen's fiancé sitting in the hallway with other emergency personnel. When a medic exited Unit 603, they reportedly informed the fiancé of Ellen's death. Wait a second. We know that her death, let's go back to the timeline where Mr. Pike found this out. This is why I have other brains in here. She was reported 6:40 p.m. Ellen pronounced dead at the scene. Okay? Now we go down here. The property manager... No, wait, this is just, they reported the notification happening sometime between 6:30 and 6:45. The property manager went to the elevators. 6:45, 6:30 and 6:45. And that's when they come out and tell him that she was gone. After this notification, the property manager reportedly helped Ellen's fiancé, Sam Goldberg, call his family while staying in the hallway with him and police officers. The property manager reportedly noted that Ellen's fiancé was wearing sneakers while sitting in the hallway. The property manager reportedly overheard Sam Goldberg tell police that Ellen was stressed about work. When police asked him why Ellen would latch the door when he went to use the gym, Ellen's fiancé reportedly responded, "I don't know. I don't know. Maybe she's a woman in an apartment building by herself. I lock my doors all the fucking time." What? Why would she latch the door when you went to the gym? Because it makes her feel safe. Maybe. Because she's a woman in America. The fuck? Eventually, several members of the fiancé's family reportedly arrived at the apartment building. At this point, the property manager reportedly left the 6th floor and met with the family members downstairs, keeping them downstairs a while awaiting word from police. When the property manager asked police if the fiancé's family was allowed to go upstairs to see him, police reportedly responded that no family was permitted upstairs. Oh, that's good. That's good. The property manager then reportedly requested that an officer come downstairs to answer the family's questions. She then reportedly escorted police to several apartments on the 6th floor so that police could interview the neighbors. At 10:30 p.m., everyone, including Sam Goldberg, reportedly left the 6th floor, except for one police officer who guarded the door to Unit 603. Sam Goldberg was reportedly witnessed getting into a police vehicle and leaving the premises, with his family following. More police officers reportedly arrived at the apartment building sometime between 2 and 2:30. Miranda, hi. Don't worry about it. We're here. Also, I'm doing timestamps now. This is the new ME report. The third time that Ellen's case has been declared a suicide. This is the brand new report that we're going over. More police officers reportedly arrived at the apartment building sometime between 2 and 2:30 a.m. to remove Ellen's body and lock the apartment door behind them. On the morning of 1/27, the property manager asked if police could enter asked police if they could enter the apartment, which police advised against due to the nature of the scene. She requested permission from the police to hire professionals to clean the apartment, which was granted. That's not what she says. Yeah, still a suicide. But this is just the new one. That's what we're talking about. That's not what she said. She said that she called because James Schwartzman wanted to get into the apartment and the police told her to clean it. Have it cleaned. But, okay. Here's a 6th floor neighbor. One neighbor, subsequently referred to as Neighbor A by the undersigned, reportedly exited the elevator onto the 6th floor at the same time between 5:30 and 5:45. At this point, he reportedly saw Ellen's fiancé in the hallway knocking on the apartment door, asking to be let inside. After this initial encounter, the neighbor went into their apartment and overheard Ellen's fiancé, Sam Goldberg, why don't they say his fucking name, continuing to knock on his apartment door. After approximately 15 minutes in their apartment, Neighbor A walked back into the hallway and reportedly told the fiancé that the front desk had a master key to unlock the apartment doors. At this point, the fiancé reportedly told Neighbor A that he was locked out because the door was latched from the inside. Ellen's fiancé reportedly forcibly pushed open the door to show Neighbor A the problem. So that was latched, but the door handle, so this would indicate to me, hi, Rich Cat. This would indicate to me that the door handle and the door jamb was not locked. If he could see that the door latch was open, that means he could turn it and only get it open enough between that the door latch. While the neighbor couldn't see the latch engaged at this point, they reportedly noted the latch reverberating and making noise. And when the fiancé pushed the door, it was clear the door was latched. Yeah, I mean, we've all been there, right? Have you ever opened a hotel door and the latch has been on? You know what that sounds like. After that encounter, Neighbor A reportedly returned to their apartment. This neighbor estimated that the fiancé had intermittently knocked and asked to be let into the apartment for approximately about 1 hour following the neighbor's first sighting of him in the hall. Then, at approximately 6:40, Neighbor A overheard multiple people talking in the hallway. This neighbor looked out his apartment window and reportedly saw a fire truck in the parking lot. And when asked, Neighbor A did not recall hearing unexplained commotion or arguments coming from Unit 603. You wouldn't hear him screaming. I guess, if he wasn't screaming. I don't know. It's all very weird to me. Here's a 6th floor neighbor referred to as Neighbor B. Reportedly exited the elevator onto the 6th floor sometime after 6 p.m. At that time, Neighbor B reportedly saw Sam in the hallway pounding on the door and yelling, Ellen, Ellen, open the door. This neighbor reportedly saw Sam wearing a blue t-shirt, Nike shorts, and Nike FRE shoes. What is this? Free shoes? They described as really, really light shoes. Approximately 30 minutes later, while in their apartment, this neighbor reportedly overheard Ellen's fiancé in the hallway saying that she was bleeding from the head and that there was a lot of blood. And that there was a knife. So he must have heard her on the phone. Woo! 12 p.m. Central. 12 p.m. Central. Always. Mondays and Wednesdays. Then reportedly overheard the fiancé answering questions in the hallway while intermittently sobbing. This neighbor reportedly overheard the fiancé tell police that Ellen was depressed about something at school and that she went on medication for this. Ellen's fiancé was also reportedly overheard telling police that she should have gone in sooner. When asked by police, Neighbor B denied ever hearing arguing from apartment 603. Thank you. Yeah, it's always 12 p.m. Central. 12 p.m. Central on Mondays and Wednesdays. Sorry, I'm a little low energy today, guys, for I am sick. Because, when you got sick kids breathing in your face all the time, that's what happens. So now we have the police interview of Ellen's psychiatrist. Yeah, we're in the same time zone. Hell yeah. Police interviewed 3 of Ellen's friends during their whoa. Psychiatrist. Ellen's psychiatrist reported that she only had 3 sessions with Ellen prior to her death. The psychiatrist indicated that Ellen talked about issues related to her being a teacher. According to the psychiatrist, when Ellen spoke of her fiancé during the sessions, that is when she appeared to be the happiest. And that's great. That's great. Again, might not be Sam. Could be anybody else. Anybody else. Police interview of her friends. Police interviewed 3 of Ellen's friends during their investigation. All 3 friends described Ellen as being stressed, anxious, and or depressed about her work as a school teacher. The 3 friends offered different time intervals of when Ellen developed this anxiety of stress, varying from the whole year to 3 to 4 months before the incident to December of 2010. 2 of these friends mentioned Ellen was specifically worried about her students' grades, with the 3rd friend only mentioning Ellen's displeasure over recent unspecified rule changes at Ellen's school. One friend indicated that Ellen's grades were due the week of the incident. The only stressor identified by these interviewed friends was Ellen's work. All 3 friends reported Ellen as being deeply unhappy with her job, saying things like she didn't know if she could do this anymore, she wanted to quit her job, she hated her job, and allegedly telling a friend, maybe I should just get pregnant and I can take off work and not go back. I mean, and she had a lot on her plate, right? Like, she's starting, a year at school. It's not going the way she anticipated. She's trying to plan a wedding. She's going through some things where she's got anxiety and depression, and she's in a place where she had to reach out to somebody to get medication. This is all a lot. It's all a lot. 2 of the friends described Ellen as being more isolated, disinterested in past hobbies or pastimes, and subdued in the weeks leading up to the fatal incident. One friend noted that during this time, Ellen seemed like she couldn't get herself to go to family functions. Another friend asked Ellen what the cause of her personality change was, to which Ellen reportedly responded that she was overwhelmed by work and the school's grading system. And if anybody has, if anybody has dealt with depression, you understand that. You understand how that goes. You can't make it to things with a lot of people and just put on a happy face. And you're also not going to go somewhere and when somebody's like, "Hey, how you doing?" You're like, "My life fucking sucks." We just don't do that as people, right? I still think that it was someone close to her. It could have been. It could have been. Could have been anybody. Ellen also allegedly reported that the medication she was taking may also have played a part in her mood change. Absolutely does. I also have to tell you, when I decided to get on medication, no pun intended, but that was a huge pill to swallow. Like, it's hard for you to admit as a person that you can't live your own life by yourself anymore. It's a hard place to be. And then also you're going through the changes of what those medications are supposed to do. And I was lucky enough where I could find a medication that worked the first time. A lot of people aren't that lucky. They go through these medications and they have to find what works for them. 2 of the interviewed friends reported that Ellen had started seeing a psychiatrist in January of 2011. According to one of these friends, it was Ellen's mother who convinced her to seek treatment. All 3 friends mentioned Ellen being on medications for her mood changes and that at some point the medications changed due to unspecified side effects. Yeah. Which, I mean, if she saw her psychiatrist 3 times and you assume you see your psychiatrist like once a week, that's 3 weeks. Could medication be to play in this? Absolutely. Absolutely. They do tell you, stop taking these immediately if you have any suicidal ideations or anything like that. Or if they worsen. That is a possibility. None of the three interviewed friends expressed concerns about Ellen's fiance. One friend described the couple as having a wonderful relationship. Another friend said Ellen loved her fiance to pieces. The third described Ellen's fiance as a great guy. Police interview of medic. I don't know. I've only seen a psychologist. But I assume, they've only seen her 3 times. So I don't know. Do psychiatrists, I'm sorry, did I get that wrong? Do psychiatrists only see you not weekly? Are they not the same as a psychologist? Like, I know they're not the same. I know there's a difference. Psychiatrists can prescribe meds and psychologists cannot. But as far as like the timing goes, I don't know. I don't see it any differently than people who need to exercise and stay in shape. Absolutely. It's something for your health. It's something you have to do. But we've put such a stigma on it. I think that's the issue. I've only ever known them to see you maybe 5 minutes and dope you up. I do have to say I find it very interesting that they were like, oh, you don't feel good? Xanax. Like they immediately just like, yeah, gave her a bunch of drugs. And I was like, maybe you should like try to work this out first. A medic who responded to the 911 call regarding Unit 603 reportedly saw Ellen's fiance seated in the 6th floor hallway. The medic described Sam as wearing a blue t-shirt and gray sweatpants while... What? Hold on. The medic described the fiance as wearing a blue t-shirt and gray sweatpants. Let's go back to neighbor B or neighbor A. Nope, neighbor B. The neighbor reportedly saw the fiance wearing a blue t-shirt, Nike shorts, and Nike FRE shoes. This motherfucker changed? Because he's also seen in shorts on the surveillance video. So by the time the medic gets there, the medic says he's now wearing gray sweatpants. At some point, while his fiance is lying dead on a floor, he's like, hey guys, can I put some sweatpants on? Thank you, Rich Cat. In another life, I would have been a prosecutor, I think. That's what I would have done. And that's the other thing. No one reported being... Mr. Pike, again, we talked about this. No one has reported being covered in blood from doing CPR. Mommy is smart. Miranda, you fucking crack me up. It's so funny. While heading to the apartment, the medic reportedly overheard Ellen's fiance asking the property manager if Ellen was breathing and if she was okay. Which is interesting because they said by that time when the property manager went up to the apartment that she had already been reported deceased. Oh. But then this guy says, after assessing Ellen in the apartment, the medic pronounced her dead at the scene. Shut the fuck up. When the medic informed the fiance that Ellen was dead, he reportedly slid down the hallway into a seated position and rolled onto the floor saying, I can't believe it. We just sent out save the date cards. Okay. I mean, grief and shock is weird. We'll just leave it at that. Oh. So this is an interview. All right, so let's go. Let's timestamp. Guys, I've been putting timestamps in here. You'll be so proud of me. So this is Sam Goldberg, second interview. Ellen's fiance elaborated on his prior statement to police given the night of the incident. He described Ellen as being very stressed out about school the day of her death. Specifically, Ellen worked as a first grade teacher and her grades were due. He stated Ellen was trying to work on the day of the incident but seemed unable to concentrate. He described Ellen as seeming to have lost confidence in her teaching abilities at the beginning of the 2010 school year, and that caused her work to take over her life. Ellen reportedly avoided social events with more frequency near the time of the incident, citing work-related excuses. In January, when Ellen started getting depressed, she reportedly asked her fiancé if he would still love her if she was crazy. He also reportedly assured Ellen that love is unconditional. Except for when she won't open the fucking door, and you're like, open the fucking door, I'm getting so pissed you don't even know. I shouldn't. I've said some stupid shit to my husband. I shouldn't say that. All right, I recant that statement. At some point, Ellen also reportedly told her fiancé that she just wanted to feel like her old self again. Oh, me too, girl. I feel that. That's sad. That's sad because you do. You feel really lost. You feel really lost. Ellen was reportedly under the care of a psychiatrist of this work-related stress. Ellen was initially prescribed Zoloft and Ambien at first, but reportedly stopped taking the Zoloft at some point because she said it made her feel lackadaisical and zombie-like. That's, you know what, is another good point. I mean, if you get on medication and then you just get off of it instead of like, weaning yourself off of it, I mean, that can really fuck you up too. If you're just like willy-nilly taking these medications. Ellen was then reportedly switched to Xanax. Ellen's fiancé denied knowledge of any prior self-harm or having serious concerns about Ellen's mental state prior to the incident. Which is interesting. He denied knowledge of any prior self-harm or having serious concerns about her mental state. So, wait, what happens if you put Zoloft and Ambien together? But I find this interesting. He didn't have any concerns about her mental state. This is what he's telling police. And then as soon as he walks in and he sees his fiancé stabbed multiple times, he's like, oh my God, she killed herself. Why is that the first thing you think of? Miranda in the chat is saying that's a dangerous combo. I don't know anything about either one of these medications. I have one medication that I've ever been on, one medication that works for me, one medication that I'm on. I love it so much. Both are downers. Interesting. Well, and then she was given Xanax and Klonopin together to help her sleep. Which is interesting too, because why not just take the pills? The only health concerns Ellen had that Sam reportedly, even in his interview, they won't refer to him as Sam Goldberg, were night sweats and episodes of elevated heart rate. Yeah, that's anxiety. That was myself as well. I was having panic attacks while I slept. Ellen's fiancé explained that he didn't force entry into the apartment sooner on the day of the incident because he thought perhaps Ellen was in the shower working with headphones or napping. Ellen would reportedly only latch the apartment doors shut when she went to sleep or when the fiancé traveled. Reportedly, Ellen did not normally latch the door when her fiancé went to the gym. The fiancé reported speaking to a neighbor in the hallway while he was trying to enter the apartment on the night of the incident. This neighbor reportedly suggested that the fiancé go to the front desk to get a spare key. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I don't know anything about these. I suppose I should find out some more. The fiancé reportedly responded that he had his keys, but that the door was latched from the inside. So, okay, maybe let's take this into account. He said that she never latched the door when he went to the gym. So is it possible that somebody else came into the apartment, if she didn't latch the door, came into the apartment while Sam was at the gym, did what they did to her, and then left? And like, as maybe they slammed the door or something, like, I don't know. I'm going to sneeze again. That's why I'm waiting. Sorry. When Ellen's fiance forced entry into the apartment and called 911, he reportedly agreed to provide CPR with the 911 operator's assistance. When he prepared to get Ellen lying flat on the floor, he reportedly saw the knife in her chest and informed the operator of the same. That's not true. That's not true. In another interview, they were like, oh, he was rendering aid. No, he wasn't, because she was sitting up, number one. Number two, on the phone call, on the dispatch phone call that we listened to in our full breakdown, he says, I can't get her zipper open. Her zipper's jammed. Oh my God, there's a knife right next to the zipper. Right. He didn't break the door down sooner. He went up 6 floors and broke the door down in less than 60 seconds. Right. Because he's the quantum leap guy. The 911 operator advised him to stop attempting to render aid at that point. The couple reportedly got engaged on June 20th of 2010, and their wedding was planned to take place on August 23rd of 2011. Ellen's fiance denied any prior domestic issue with Ellen requiring police or parental involvement. While at the police department on this date, Ellen's fiance volunteered a DNA sample for police to use as comparison to DNA on evidence from the incident. Which, again, if it's not Sam, great. Could it be any other person in that fucking building? I don't know, Mr. Pike. You completely missed it. So here's police interviews of Ellen's coworkers. Let me see if I can. How come sometimes I can grab this and sometimes I can't? Let's see. Where are we? 137. Coworker interviews. Police interviewed 4 of Ellen's coworkers during their investigation. All 4 of these coworkers independently commented on Ellen's stress in the lead up to the fatal incident. They each indicated that Ellen was specifically worried about the grades she was giving to her students. 2 of these coworkers explained that Ellen's school had changed its grading system, and this made Ellen worry about giving her students correct grades. One coworker further explained that Ellen said she had given some students inflated grades in the hopes of motivating them during the first marking period of the school year. With the new guidelines on the grades, she reportedly worried that she would have to give these students lower grades in the second marking period. Ellen so she cared about her job. That's great. She cared about these kids. Ellen reportedly told one coworker at some point that she had told her fiance that she wanted to quit her job, and that her fiance reportedly responded that she shouldn't quit but rather work through her issues. One coworker reported seeing Ellen in the school parking lot on the day of the incident after the school had been dismissed early from a snowstorm. At this time, this coworker reported that Ellen was again stressed about grades. This might have been the older gentleman that was in the documentary. According to the 2 of these coworkers, at least 2 different teachers at the school had advised her to seek help for her stress. Ellen reportedly told one coworker that Ellen's own parents had advised her to see someone for her stress. 3 of the interviewed coworkers reported that Ellen was being treated or about to be treated for her work-related stress. Ellen reportedly told one coworker that she wasn't sleeping and that the medications she was originally prescribed wasn't helping. I have to tell you, I have been in a place where I have been completely deprived of sleep. It's probably the most fucked up place I've ever been in my life. There's paranoia. There's hallucinations. It's a wild ride, friends, that you don't want to be on. So if she truly wasn't sleeping, I mean, it's is it just me, or do the people who care the most in jobs like this not last long because it's so fucked up? Yeah. My brother-in-law was a teacher. He got his degree in history. I would love to have him on the podcast, dude. You guys would fucking love him. He is so smart and he's so wonderful and he's so goddamn funny. But yeah, so he was a teacher, and then they made a bunch of rules, and he's like, no, I'm not even fucking teaching the kids anymore. And he quit. Now he does like building houses and shit. I also love that Miranda can say the NAZI word in the chat and it doesn't like clip it. But if Pike says knife, it doesn't allow his thing to go through. But yeah. That's why a lot of people quit their jobs, because they have passion and then somebody fucking ruins it. She reportedly went on to say that changes in her medications were helping. One of the coworkers reported it was hard to console Ellen when she was stressed about, and that she seemed very guarded when topics of counseling and medications were broached. 3 of the interviewed coworkers commented on Ellen's relationship with her fiance. They described her as being excited about the engagement and upcoming marriage. One coworker said Ellen always spoke highly of her fiance. Another coworker reported that Ellen had allegedly told another coworker that her fiance was her knight in shining armor. All right, so let's go through the text and phone calls now. Where are we at? 141. Call logs for Ellen's cell phone and text messages between 8:25 and 1:26 were reviewed. Numbers either identified as being saved in the phone's contact list or not saved. Numbers saved in the phones. Okay. So 1:26. This is the day. Call made to a coworker per contacts. Call lasted 15 minutes. 2:33. Call made to number not saved in contacts. Call lasted 30 seconds. Internet search links the number to an area restaurant. Upcoming reservation at the same time mentioned in a text exchange between Ellen and a friend on 1:25. Okay. So she called a place that she had a reservation at for dinner. There were no incoming calls. 5:24, she has a missed call from a family friend. 5:24 to 5:42, 6 calls from her fiance trying to get into the apartment. 5:42 call from individuals saved in contacts. 5:47 to 6:03, 7 calls from her fiance. 6:07 to 6:10, 4 calls from the front desk. 6:11 to 6:13, 2 calls from fiance. 6:21, front desk. 6:25, fiance. All text messages from Ellen's cell phone were reviewed. Show me. What about her? Oh, the texts. I want to see the texts. Ellen appeared to be in a loving relationship with her fiance based on the text messages from her phone. Okay. It could, whatever. A reoccurring theme in the text messages was that Ellen was often separated from her fiance due to the nature of his work. There were no messages in which Ellen mentioned hostility or mistreatment by her fiance. She never expressed fear of her fiance, nor did any of her contacts. Mental state and health. There were references in the text message history dating back to 9/23/10 of Ellen being anxious or stressed for unspecified reasons. Yeah, she's fucking alive. We're all anxious and stressed. Go through any one of our fucking text messages right now and not find something and just be like, I'm fucking worried about this shit. Related to this anxiety was insomnia, which was severe enough to become a topic of conversation with several of Ellen's family members and friends in her text messages. I've been there. It's very scary. No mentions of injuries, physical handicaps, or medical conditions aside from psychiatric issues identified in Ellen's text messages. Yeah, and that's hard. I mean, especially too when you're going through something mentally and you don't have them to kind of be there and fall back on and you know, do the partner things. It is hard. It's very hard. So this is work. Based on the text message history, Ellen appeared to be stressed by her work as a teacher with mentions of this as early as 10/7/10. Multiple times in the messages, Ellen indicated a desire to quit her job. There were multiple references in text messages regarding her anxiety about grades. The following is the last exchange of messages from the phone. 151, person, so sick. It's been miserable. Ellen, oh no, person. Yeah, I feel like I've tried everything, but nothing is working. Ellen, well, that's the ting it. Feels that way for a reason. Oh, well, that's the ting. It feels that way for a reason. Person, I guess. It's not fun, though. Hopefully it goes away by 12 weeks. Ellen, how many now? Person 7. Oh, my God. I know, it's crazy, right? If I wasn't so sick, I wouldn't believe it. Bahaha, I love it. When do you go to the doctor? Tuesday a.m. Maybe when you see it will seem real. Oh, maybe then it will seem real. Yay. How have you been this week? My great. I want to scream. End grades are due tonight, and I can't seem to get them done. Ugh. Scan some to me. I'll do after work tonight. Above is the exchange. There were 9 separate unanswered texts from Ellen's fiance between 5:32 and 6:11. Can we see those? Hey, Mr. Pike. Yay. A little bit of positivity. Sister had her baby. It's a girl. Her name is Scotty Lane. That is such a cute name. I love that. Congratulations. Congratulations. Real quick, I want to see. And also, how come we've never seen Sam Goldberg's text messages to Ellen? Let's see. Let's see. Actually, this is why. Let's see. Okay. I don't know where the text messages are. Review of Emmy. If anybody comes across the text messages. Wait. Instagram has them? Nope, this is just some guy talking. I mean, he might have them. Oh, wait, does he have them? Okay, so it says, hello, open the door. What are you doing? Which I get. Oh, he just goes through the fact that he never says, are you okay? Yeah, we got that. Okay. Review of psychiatric records. Review of the 3 sessions. All right, so here are her sessions for this psychiatrist. January 12th, January 17th, and January 19th. 12th, 17th, and 19th. I mean, that's weekly, right? Let's go back. Let me Google a calendar. Calendar of January from 2011. So let's see. The 12th was a Wednesday. The 17th was a Monday. And the 19th was a Wednesday. So she had seen the psychiatrist 3 times in a week, in 1 week. Interesting. And she had been prescribed and then re-prescribed different meds and new meds. Hi, Only Me. We're talking about Ellen Greenberg, her new Emmy report that states that she has committed suicide again. So here's the records from the first appointment. In these records, Ellen described feeling anxious for a couple of months before her first session. She denied ever previously feeling as anxious as she was at the time of her sessions. Ellen also described difficulty sleeping, a lack of appetite, decreased concentration, and unintentional weight loss of 5 to 10 pounds. Yeah, that'll do it. Additionally, 3 were mentions in the records of possibly compulsive cleaning. Yep. And then you start getting out of control. So then you start trying to get back into control, and you start planning, and you start, it's hard. It's hard. And then the OCD comes, and then the paranoia comes, and then it's awful. These records indicate that Ellen was taking Zoloft and that her dosage was increased at her first appointment. So she was taking Zoloft before she saw the psychiatrist? There were references of her feeling overwhelmed by work. She described herself as a hard worker and a perfectionist who felt she was in an impossible situation with constant work and persistent feelings of criticism. Ellen indicated to her psychiatrist that she wanted to quit her job. She was frustrated because she thought she should be happy with her life but wasn't. She referenced parents being pretty close and perfectionists who want things in control. Her parents may not have approved of psychiatric medications, something that appears to be corroborated in Ellen's text messages. And that's the other thing. People will tell you to get help, and then they'll be like, but not meds. But not, because meds means you're really crazy then. Like, you can get help, but just enough help for like other people to feel comfortable with it. Oh, sometimes I'm spontaneous. I try to be as planned as possible, but records from second appointment. At her second appointment, Ellen reported not taking her prescribed medications for sleep because she wanted to keep working instead. Okay. The records again referenced Ellen's desire to quit her job as a school teacher, going so far as to outline her contractual obligations if she were to resign. Based on the records, Ellen had even looked for a job in her hometown, but reportedly found none. The records described a previous experience. That's interesting. She had looked for a job in her hometown, which I don't know how far she lived away, but it was like I don't think she could have lived where she lived and then worked in her hometown. The records described a previous experience involving work-related stress. She changed her college degree because she felt unable to do the work required in her original degree. She had an inability to maintain focus on her current task. At the second appointment, there was a suggestion to work with her parents, but so actually, and I'm not a doctor, but I have talked to a doctor, and when this all first started, and now obviously I'm diagnosed and I have the right things in place, but a lot of women go undiagnosed with ADHD for a long time. And the one thing my doctor said is, I think a lot of your issues come from undiagnosed ADHD because you just keep piling on your plate and piling on your plate, and you can't finish a thought, a sentence, an act, nothing. And everything becomes overwhelming. So, it's taken me 2 years now to kind of get everything together. But here we are. I'm ADHD, but a lot of people go undiagnosed. And that's the thing. Maybe that's where she was at. You know, she can't sleep. She wants to get her work done. She's stressing about, you know, she feels like she's drowning. She can't focus. There was a suggestion to work with her parents, but Ellen reportedly felt like she couldn't do this. She denied feeling suicidal during the session. And then she switched from Zoloft to Klonopin at this visit. So this was the second visit. So she got Zoloft. She got an upped. Hold on a second. The fuck? She got an upped. They upped her Zoloft in the first session, 112. In the second session, they're like, fuck the Zoloft. We'll give you Klonopin. Do you have to wean yourself off of these things, or can you just be like, I'm not taking them anymore? At her third and final appointment, Ellen reported improvement in her systems after switching Zoloft to Klonopin. There were more references to possibly compulsive cleaning habits at this visit. She said she was not worrying about parents. It's unclear from the records if this was in reference to her parents or the parents of her students. The records listed a diagnosis code for adjustment disorder with anxiety. What is adjustment disorder? A mental health condition characterized by emotional and behavioral responses to significant stressor or life change. I've never heard of an adjustment disorder. The following items were tested to assess the presence of human blood. 1 swab, upper kitchen cabinet near the microwave oven. 1 swab from the upper handle of the freezer. 1 swab from the countertop near the stove. Oh! Not the swab from the bathroom? Let's keep that in mind, friends. The knife recovered from Ellen's chest during autopsy was assessed for latent prints. 2 non-usable prints were found. So you didn't find anybody's fingerprints on the knife. How interesting. Did Ellen wear gloves? Because if you couldn't find you can't find usable prints on the knife, you can't find Ellen's fingerprints on the knife. Toxicology testing. Forensic toxicology tests revealed subtherapeutic levels of zolpidem and the zolpidem would be the what was the other one? Klonopin and Xanax, right? And he changed clothes. Very interesting. Yes, somebody reported, multiple people reported him in shorts, and then the medics reported him in sweatpants. So there's that. DNA testing of evidence from the apartment. The underpants, a swab of the handle of the knife recovered from her chest. A swab of blood stains from the handle of the knife recovered from Ellen's chest. A swab of brown stains from the handle of the knife recovered from Ellen's chest. A swab of fingernail clippings. A swab of fingernail clippings. Blood stains. Blood stains. Did anybody send in the blood stain from the bathroom? I would love to talk to anybody from the Philly PD and be like, please walk me step by step. Please walk me step by step through your fucking protocol. The pointed objects was still in her chest during autopsy. How did he do CPR? He never did CPR, Mr. Pike. Right. He never moved her from the seated position. A single DNA profile was detected on other listed items. The DNA profile is consistent with Ellen's. All right. Let's see. Wait. Oh. A mixture of at least 2 DNA profiles were recovered from the underpants. The DNA mixture is consistent with having originated from Ellen and her fiancé. Okay. So we know that this is Ellen's stuff. We know that they have a DNA profile for Ellen. Yet they can't figure out whose fingerprints or DNA is on the goddamn knife. There's no trace DNA on the knife? Fuck fingerprints. There's no... Aside from the blood, there's nothing else you could find on the knife. But she must have done it, right? Thank you, everyone. For I am sick. They found her laptop. 6 files by keyword search, suicide. 1 file related to a chess application. 1 file from Boing Boing HTML. What's Boing Boing? 4 documents saved as last names in folders labeled PGA and IPGA? LPGA? Okay. So when they looked for suicide, 4 documents saved as last names in folders labeled PGA. Okay, I just want to tell you guys something. Do you guys know what Sam Goldberg did? Yeah, he worked for like the fucking golf network. That's what he did. He went to... Interesting. Let's see. Oh, I found his LinkedIn. Oh, no, that's not him. I was like, God damn, this feels personal. He worked for the Golf Network, I believe. Sam Goldberg Golf Channel. He worked for director of associate director for NBC Sports, but he worked specifically, supervising producer and director of the European tour at Golf Channel. Yes, it is. PGA Tour. Exactly. All right. 7 files found by keyword search depressed. 7 HTML files with discernible identifiers listed. 6 files found by keyword suicide. 1 file found suicide methods. But you know what they can't tell you? When these were made. When they were made. And you know what would be interesting? If they could find when they were made, because his uncle had her laptop in his possession for like 3 days. Due to the highly technical and specialized terminology used in this report, the undersigned is unable to comment further on the findings of this report. Oh, it almost seems like it's undetermined. Oh, they did do it. All right. I recant my statement. Why can't they say when they were made? That's in the file structure itself since the dawn of computers. That's a great point. I would love to know. DNA testing of blood stains in the lobby, bathroom, and apartment building. A swab of blood stain from the bathroom floor. A swab stain from the bottom of the bathroom door. A swab of blood. How many people are bleeding in your bathrooms if you clean it all the time? Both Ellen and her fiance were excluded as possible sources of DNA. Okay. So they have that. So here's consultant reports. So let's timestamp this. 2:04. How do you spell consultant? Reports. All right. Below is a summary of each consultative report reviewed by the undersigned. Materials reportedly viewed, autopsy report photographs. All right. Findings, opinions from the report. Suicides by stabbing rarely have multiple stab wounds. Oh, look at that. Stab wounds found to the posterior neck and head are unlikely to be from suicide. Look at that. Suicides may have cuts or tentative stabbings to see if it hurts or to work up courage. Suicides usually only have one significant wound, most likely to the chest. Look at that. She had a significant wound to the back of her neck and the back of her fucking head. A suicide victim will frequently leave a note. There was no note. No prior indication of suicidal ideation or families, friends, coworkers, and psychiatrists. Suicide victims rarely stab themselves through their clothing. Look at that. Based upon a reasonable degree of medical certainty, the manner of death of Ellen Greenberg is strongly suspicious of homicide. Look at that. Look at that. A letter from Dr. Wayne Ross. So this was Cyril Wecht. Dr. Wayne Ross to Thomas P. Brennan. Materials reportedly reviewed, not specified. Support for final conclusion, none offered. Final conclusion from the letter. It is my opinion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty that the manner of death is a homicide. 2 for 2, friends. We're 2 for 2. These are other medical professionals. Here's Dr. Wayne Ross. A stab wound penetrated the skull cavity, cranial nerves, and brain. This injury would have caused severe pain, cranial nerve dysfunction, and any of a number of findings of brain injury. The fingernails marks on the front of the neck. There are fingernail marks on the front of the neck, which means they could have come up from behind, like this. There are multiple bruises under the neck and in the strap muscle over the right side of the neck. The findings of the neck are evidence of strangulation and are compatible with manual strangulation. That's okay, Miranda. Bruises on the body in varying stages of healing are consistent with a repeated beating. Final conclusion. The scene findings were indicative of a homicide. We're 3 for 3, friends. 3 for 3. Detective Scott Eelman. The bloodstains on Ellen's face are inconsistent with the position of her body when she was found. The bloodstains on the front of Ellen's clothes are consistent with Ellen being seated and her head tipped forward when the stains were made. The bloodstains on the floor at the scene was minimal compared to the bloodstaining on Ellen's clothes. There is a patterned blood stain near Ellen's right hand, which may be consistent with a shoe print or something else. Next to her right hand, perhaps consistent with a shoe print. Interesting. Interesting. Is she playing a game of Twister? If Ellen's boot had made the print in blood, there would be other similar pattern prints on the floor corresponding to her footsteps. Final conclusion. Ellen was not in the position in which she was found when the injuries occurred. The kitchen of the apartment is consistent with the primary scene of the incident. Swipe patterns in the blood on the lower kitchen cabinets are consistent with having been formed when Ellen fell to the floor. No defensive type wounds can be seen. Bloodstains on Ellen and in the kitchen are consistent with her having been upright and in the kitchen when she received some of her injuries. There is no indication of cleaning in the area of Ellen's right hand. Blood flowing in different directions on Ellen's face could mean that she moved after receiving the bleeding injuries. The blood stain patterns indicate that Ellen was in a standing position when she received her initial injuries. Subsequently, she was on the floor with her head leaning forward. Final conclusion from the report: the number and type of wounds on the bloodstain patterns observed are consistent with a homicide scene. Friends, I believe we're 5 for 5. I believe we're 5 for 5. Reconstructed 3D computer modeling results. Stab wounds on the posterior head and neck are not consistent with self-infliction. Self-infliction of multiple posterior head and neck wounds would require multiple dynamic movements of the wrist and elbow, which is not biomechanically probable. Now, I want you guys to remember something as I'm reading this right now, okay? I am reading the current ME's report. She has to go through all of these other people who have done all of this other research and still be like, fuck it. We're good. We're good. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Injuries to the posterior head and neck would have disrupted the body's proprioceptors such that Ellen would have impaired coordinated motor activity. Mr. Pike, we spoke about this. Injuries to the chest and abdomen would result in impaired motor function and are therefore not consistent with self-infliction. Contusions of the extremities in various stages of healing are consistent with assailant-oriented trauma, not self-infliction. Oh, so which department is doing this one, Miranda? Okay, we're on page 21. Well, let me show you because it's supposed to be an independent review. Yeah, Lindsay Simon, Chief Medical Examiner of the Philadelphia Medical Examiner's Office. That's the independent. Yes, this is a new shirt. Merch for everyone. I tried to make a Nightbot merch thing, but it wouldn't go. Fourth Wall was having some issues, so I'm gonna try later to put a new merch command, and it's like, oh god, it's so comfy. Stop staring at me. Yeah, so that's that. All right, so we're on page 21 of 32. It is so comfortable. It is so soft on the inside. I got a medium, and I don't know if it runs small. I should a little tight. I didn't want to get a large though because I like them better fitting. But she is so comfortable, so well made too. And this part too, I was waiting for it to be like some weird iron-on. It is not. It is not. It's very nice. I'm very happy with the Can't Drive This Volvo sweatshirt. If you guys want to see, so they're doing their own independent review. Exactly. Final conclusion. Ms. Greenberg's manner of death is not biomechanically consistent with suicide. Findings and opinions from the report. This is from Dr. Wayne Ross. The apartment's door lock is disturbed from the inside. I said that. The apartment's door's lock is disturbed from the inside. You saw it. It all had that. It just had tiny little screws holding it together. And if it was the only thing that was latched, hold on. Ellen Greenberg lock. I want you to look at this picture. Okay. Let me see. Look at this real quick. Look at this picture. 4 little tiny screws. Hi, El Jihad. You don't think maybe he could have ripped that open from the inside? I feel like I could rip that open from the inside. I don't know, man. I don't know. Oop. Hey. What's happening? El Jihad, hi. How are you? So anyways, scene findings are not consistent with a true suicide, but are consistent with a staged suicide. The blood evidence at the scene is inconsistent with suicide. Absence of cast-off blood splatter, consistent with control. Injuries of the brain, cranial nerves, intracranial blood vessels, and spinal cord will cause extreme pain which is inconsistent with suicide. No prior suicidal ideation or attempts. No incised wounds on arms or hands is inconsistent with suicide. The hesitation wounds on the head and chest are due to staging of the scene. Ellen was incapacitated by strangulation. Contusions on the wrist consistent with defensive wounds. Binding to wrist. Contusions of the legs consistent with defensive wounds. Older contusions on the extremities indicative of abuse. Ellen was not under the influence of drugs or had any disease to result in suicide. A perforation of the cranial spinal dura did not have hemorrhage identified post-mortem, and therefore the injuries were inflicted after Ellen was dead. History of the spinal cord defect showed soft tissues hemorrhage, but no cellular reaction in the spinal cord itself. Histology of the brain showed hemorrhage. Histology of the cerebellum showed spongiosis. Final conclusion. The necessary degree of medical certainty to support the selection of suicide as the manner of Ellen's death is patently lacking. I'm good, El Jagad. Yeah, the screws are so shallow. I've ripped shit off my walls. Miranda. It smell like me. I'll work out and then send it to you. The pair of my socks. Right. They said she had no defensive wounds before. I mean, that's what they're saying now. She had no defensive wounds. Let's see. Findings by Robert. Oh, report. I'm okay. I am spent. I've had enough. Also, I got to have my lunch. Gotta have my lunch. The OAG reportedly analyzed Ellen's laptop and found evidence that she had searched the internet for topics relating to suicide. You know, but also, I can't imagine if I died what they would fucking find on mine. You know? Shit. Autopsy findings must be interpreted in the context of the investigation and circumstances of death to reach accurate conclusions. Yeah. Hi, Medell. I know I have to eat to get better. I'm going to as soon as the kids get home from school. I already ate too. I have really big breakfasts. And then I sort of skip lunch because I'm not that hungry. But then I have a really big dinner. Pork tacos tonight. Since all injuries had associated soft tissue hemorrhage, they were inflicted while Ellen was alive. Ellen had no defensive wounds on her body. Ellen could have reached all of the areas on her body that were injured. While stab wounds to the posterior head and neck are atypical of suicides, they are not physically inconsistent with being self-inflicted. Final conclusion from the report, the manner of death is suicide. It would be biomechanically, so this is from Dr. Wayne Ross. It would be biomechanically impossible for Ellen to inflict all of her injuries. The pain caused by the injuries would have functionally incapacitated Ellen. Reportedly, the FBI analyzed Ellen's laptops and found no material relating to suicide. Yeah, where's the fucking FBI? Yeah, I made pork tacos. They were so good last night. That's okay. We're happy you're here. A key element to the situation is whether or not the fiancé was witness to forced entry into the apartment, and he was not. The lack of hemorrhage in the cervical spine dura indicates the injury was inflicted post-mortem. Leaving the manner of death as suicide prevents any official investigation into the death. There was originally swelling in the cervical spinal cord, but the swelling dissipated after the autopsy. Final conclusion from the report. Ellen did not commit suicide. Dr. Jonathan Arden. Wounds to the posterior head and neck could be self-inflicted. People are known to self-inflict painful injuries without the pain incapacitating them from further action. It is well known that people who die by suicide may not leave notes or outwardly manifest signs of concerning for suicidal ideation. True. These are all true things. Analysis of Ellen's computer reportedly found internet searches for methods of committing suicide, quick death, and depression. Autopsy. Photographs show hemorrhage in the soft tissue and epidural space of the cervical spine. Injuries in the spinal cord occurring shortly before death may have little to almost no hemorrhage. The manner of death is Miss Greenberg is suicide. So they are going back and forth. Ooh, barbacoa. Miranda's just exerting her dominance. My mommy? All right. Circumstances leading up to Ellen's death. Ellen was last seen by someone other than her fiance at work parking lot. At the time, Ellen expressed concern to this coworker about submitting the students. I think this is the guy that was in the documentary. Okay. Insomnia. We've gone through all of this. The scene of the incident. Ellen was found lying to... Okay. Case opined. Okay. We already know all of this. Information. All right. We have all of these. These are the text messages. All the text messages. All right. This is the timing. We already went through that, which is interesting because when we go to here, let's talk about it again. Fiance on surveillance video getting onto an elevator at 6:33. Then it has to go up 6 floors, get off the elevator, go to the door, break it down, find Ellen, and then at 6:33, he also calls 911. It's not possible. It's not possible. We've already gone through all of this. Okay. So this is the final analysis then. Let's see, 222. To summarize the entirety of this report, Ellen Greenberg was a young woman suffering from anxiety at the time of her death. The anxiety appeared mostly to be due to her work as a teacher. She was specifically worried that the grades she needed to submit on the day of her death would indicate that she had previously given inflated grades to her students. She expressed this anxiety about her grades to her friends, coworkers, and her fiancé in the hours leading up to her death. She was under the care of a psychiatrist for this anxiety. While her recent change in medications had helped with the insomnia associated with her anxiety, she did not survive long enough to address the anxiety itself. Thus, she had an increase in energy to act on her anxious thoughts. Are you just allowed to put fucking speculation in a ME report? How do you know? How do you... What? All of this is factual, okay? From here to here. From here to here is factual. And then you say, thus she had an increase in energy to act on her anxious thoughts. How do you know? How do you know that? Ellen was found dead in her apartment with 23 stab and incised wounds. 23, not 20. Because even the other ME, Dr. Marlon Osborne, missed fucking 3 of them. These wounds were limited to the posterior head, neck, right neck, and central front torso. While the distribution of injuries is admittedly unusual, the fact remains that Ellen would be capable of inflicting these injuries herself, and we've talked about this. Just because she's capable of inflicting these injuries does not mean that she did. Many of these stab incise wounds would be best categorized as hesitation wounds. People who stab people also make hesitation wounds. No defensive injuries were identified on the body because perhaps she was incapacitated before the rest of them came, because maybe she was stabbed in the back of the fucking brain. There was no evidence to indicate Ellen was incapacitated or incapable of defending herself. How do you know which knife wound came first? How do you know? She had 23 of them. The fiance's DNA was not detected on the knife used to inflict the injuries. His self-reported timeline... Wait a second. Neither was hers. She had blood on it, but you couldn't determine that she was the one who stabbed herself either. I want to know what this bitch gets fucking paid. Because if we could just write fucking theories and get paid, I'm doing it. Let's do it. Let's just all be Emmys and get paid a shit ton of money to put out some bullshit work. Right. Not missed, omitted. Right. No evidence except for the 26 pages of it. That's her opinion. LOL. Yeah, maybe we should have her on the fucking show. Come on, Lindsay. Because the thing is if you can say, is it possible that something else happened? And the answer is yes. Then it is your job to write it as fucking undetermined. His self-reported timeline of events is corroborated by phone logs, text messages, and surveillance footage, key card swipes, and police interviews. Yeah? He got from the lobby to the 6th floor, breaking the door down, finding his fiance, and getting on his phone and dialing 911 in 60 seconds. 60 seconds. No evidence was provided to indicate Ellen was in an abusive relationship with her fiance. No evidence doesn't fucking say that somebody else could have done this. There's no evidence to show that maybe somebody else wasn't capable of doing this. Maybe it wasn't Sam. Okay. No findings of a struggle were found at the scene, except for the fact that the knife block was turned over. You know, maybe there also was no struggle because she was stabbed in the head. And no valuables were reported missing from the apartment. So it wasn't a robbery. Okay. With all this information considered, is the opinion as the undersigned that the manner of Ellen Greenberg's death is best classified as a suicide. All opinions stated in this report are expressed with a reasonable degree of medical certainty. The undersigned reserves the right to amend any statements or opinions if presented with additional significant information. Bitch, you have 32 pages. You have at least 5 or 6 doctors who have gone against the 2 stating that it was a suicide. You have 5 or 6 saying it was a homicide. Who's Lindsay? Oh, I'm Lindsay, Mr. Pike. I'm so mad I'm lost. Oh my God. Oh my God. What could be the motive if it was the husband? Well, I mean, that could be anything, though. I mean, they could have, it was her fiance at the time. But I mean, they could have just gotten into an argument. I'm not saying that, I mean, it was premeditated. Maybe they got into a fight. But she has bruises around her hands that show restraint. I don't know. You know, I have to say, it is very frustrating that people take these jobs. They take these very specific jobs. I don't know why. I hope it's to help people, but I'm starting to lose faith. And then they don't even do the bare minimum. Not sending you my shirt after I worked out. I won't do it. But it's just, are there any consequences for Emmy's misidentifying cause of death? I ask because what is the harm in ruling it non-determined? Hammer, that's a great question. What is the harm? What is the harm in ruling it non-determined? And I don't know if there's any consequences because it's her opinion, just like it's my opinion. I don't know, man. I don't know. There is no consequences for making such mistakes, except for the fact that this family has to just live with the fact that somebody could have possibly killed her daughter. And could she have done it to herself? Sure. But could she get an investigation to prove that? Tune in Wednesday for the links. Let me see if I can get it now. It wasn't opening. It's on fourth wall. Oh, wait. Do I have it now? Hold on. Let's do our summary. And then we'll just have chatty chats. Okay? So in this live stream, we review the newly released medical examiner's report in the Ellen Greenberg case, a 2011 death that's long divided experts, investigators, and the public. Despite 23 stab wounds, the ME once again ruled Ellen's death a suicide, a decision her family continues to challenge, which I don't blame them. We walked through the full report, the timeline of events, autopsy findings, police and witness interviews, and the newly reviewed phone and text evidence. And this stream asks, does the new ME report bring clarity or deepen mystery? So I'm trying to be more organized for you guys in streams. I'm trying my best. I have ADHD. Bear with me. Okay. Now we're going to do some chatty chats because I think that's fun. Also, I'm going to get you the fourth wall. Let's see. Log in here. The shirt I buy. I'm not working out in the shirts you buy. You're going to have to pay extra. But yeah, it's deeply disappointing. Is this my shop? Nope, that's not my shop. Oh no. I just need the link. All right. Mr. Pike, you're an angel. There's that. All right, let me see if I can hook that up to Nightbot. Oh, yeah, Mr. Pike. Mr. Pike, you're the best. All right, let's go commands. We'll do exclamation point match. New command. Oh, whoops. Merch. And then I'll put it in there. Where is it? Here it is. Boom. Copy. Got it. Everyone create. All right, so now you should be able to do this. Nope, guess not. Ah, there it is. Hee hee, we did it. Gladly pay extra. Read in the evenings. I don't care if it's weird. Miranda, I have a husband. He's not going to let me sell my goods. Ugh. Actually, he might. He'll be like, if somebody wants to pay for it. Nightbot's our little bot. We should rename it. Crime bot. Oh my God. Anyways. What's going on with you guys? Listening from the bushes here. Because Dad is... Oh. Grace. I'm so sorry. Prayers with Grace. We love you, Grace. I know it's hard. It's very hard. Whoop. He can keep you. I just want cuddles. I like cuddles. I like cuddles. He can have you. Oh boy, you guys are the best. So I will be live on Wednesday, and then long form video on Thursday. So for the last 2 weeks of Halloween, I have 2 Halloween themed videos. So we'll be doing that. And then other than that, that's about it. How are the baconettes? Well, they're both still kind of congested. They're on the end. My daughter had a ruptured eardrum. We had to get her antibiotics. But they're doing good. They're doing good. Doing better. And, you know, we're just trying to get through this week. My daughter's birthday's on Wednesday. She's going to be 6. Man, I see little like videos of her as a little baby. I'm like, I wish she could go back to being a little baby. But yeah, so she's gonna be 6, and then we're having her birthday party this weekend. We got family coming in from out of town. I filmed 2 videos on Sunday, so I've been getting like ahead, which is great. I've really been enjoying doing that. It's been nice because then I don't feel so like, you know, to get out. Having me on stream, yeah. But yeah, happy birthday to my baby. I don't want her to get older. I just want her to be my baby. Although she does love snuggling with me, and she's always like, Mama baby. That's what she calls it, Mama baby. And I'm like, yes, Mama baby. Yes, Mama baby. No, I don't want to blink. I'll never blink ever. I'll never blink ever. I don't want to. What's happening with my stream? It's like, I gotta get a new camera. Mommy handling business. I'm trying, man. Bacon, do you mainly focus on unsolved crime? We have 2 local. Oh! Hammer, listen. Okay, I actually I've never heard from that. I gotta email that that Cold Case Coalition back. I haven't heard from them, but I am starting next month a series of a highlighted cold case a month, unsolved. So if you ever have anything that you want me to focus on, I do have a Google form in the description, but I also just put it in the comments and I write them down. I don't always get to them like when people want me to get to them, but they are written down. I promise. So yeah, if you have some that you want to be covered, send them over. And I keep linking. Or you can just put them in the chat right now, and I will do that. But yeah. I'm always willing to look at new cases. So, all right, guys, I gotta get going. I gotta do the stuff, the behind the scenes stuff for YouTube. You guys are great. I love you so much. Thank you for being here. Sorry I'm low energy today. Hopefully I'll be feeling better by Wednesday. Yeah, you guys are awesome. And